Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from jennycarddesigns. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today's project is a doozy. I've got a really cool idea for a card gift box along with a chop it up style card making project all rolled into one video. I'm going to be chopping into some of my heavy duty hoarded cardstock along with a really cute 6x6 pattern paper pack that I've had sitting on my desk. So let's get into chopping up some of this stuff. So today's project, we're going to make a shoebox style gift box for A7 or 5x7 cards. This box will hold up to 12 cards and envelopes, depending on how much you embellish your cards and the thickness of them. So it can hold quite a few, and it's so simple. I'm going to walk you through the steps on how to create this simple little box that's going to help you elevate the level of professionalism that you present your handmade cards with. So let's get started. Okay, so what you're going to need is 2 sheets of heavyweight cardstock. I find the heavier the cardstock, the better for this particular project, because it'll hold up over time and hold those cards inside of your box. So I'm going to take one of my pieces of cardstock. This measures 8.5 inches by 11 inches. And across the 11-inch side, I'm going to cut away 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to line this up into my trimmer and I'll cut 1/2 inch away and I'll set that off to the side. And then I'm going to pull in my scoreboard. And across the 8.5 inch side, I'm going to start scoring at 1.5 inches. Okay, and then I'm going to rotate my cardstock 1 turn to the left and score at 1.5 inches. Rotate my cardstock 1 turn to the left and score at 1.5 inches. Do you get the idea here? Super simple. Again, rotate 1 turn to the left, score at 1.5 inches. This is so easy. All the measurements have been worked out for you. All you'll need to do is score at 1.5 inches. So easy. All right, next we're going to cut. Across the 8.5 inch side, we're going to cut on that score line. For the bottom right score mark, we're going to cut to the left of the score line and then create a little angle cut and cut that score line away, if that makes sense. And then for the left corner, we'll cut on the right side of the score line and create a little angle cut. So you should have something that looks like this, and we're going to do that to the top and the bottom of this box. Okay, now we're going to crease all of the folds. You can crease the folds before you do your cutting. It doesn't matter, either way works. It's just that if you score your paper after you've made your cuts, you have more creases to fold. Okay, so once that's done, we're going to take these little flaps and fold them in, and this is where we're going to add adhesive. So I'm just going to get some really strong double-sided tape here. You can use your tape runner, you can use liquid glue, whatever you've got. Just make sure that it's good and strong. And I'm going to apply adhesive to that little corner flap. And I'll do that to all of my corners. And then I'll peel away the release paper. Okay, so I just have those little flaps full of adhesive, and I'm going to line them up inside of the box to create a 90-degree angle. So you want to take your time here, go nice and slow, and make sure that you have a 90-degree angle and there's no stress on your box. And it should come together nicely because it's already been creased. And I'll just take my bone folder and press in that adhesive so that we get a good strong adhesion. And we'll do that to all 4 corners of our box. And this is going to create the bottom of the box. I should have mentioned that earlier. There are 2 different measurements that we're going to be making, a top and a bottom, and this one is for the bottom. Okay, so at this point, we should have a little something that looks like this. If you have any frayed edges or little bits hanging over, not to worry, you can just grab your scissors and trim those away to make sure that your box has nothing sticking up and it looks perfect. I'll drop in my envelopes. I've got 12 envelopes here. The cards will come later, but so you can see that you have some room and it's not too tight and everything fits together nice and snug. Let's move along to the top of the box. So I've got my second piece of 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock, and I'm going to trim this down. Now this is the only tricky part to this box. I need to cut away 1/8 of an inch less than half an inch. So I'll line up my cardstock to the 1/2 inch mark and then scoot it back 1/8 of an inch. On my trimmer, I have also the markings for 1/16 of an inch. I just need to be mindful of that I'm cutting away 1/8 of an inch. So I'm making sure that I'm holding my paper in place nice and firmly, and I'll go ahead and slice. And then here's a comparison of the 2 strips of cardstock that we cut away so that you can kind of see what we're doing here. So you'll notice here, the first piece that I cut off is 1/2 an inch, and then you can see the difference here. It's just slightly smaller, the piece that I'm going to trim away. This is going to allow for our box to be able to open and close freely without being too loose or too tight. All right, so we're going to pop in our cardstock into our scoreboard. The rest of the steps are identical as the bottom of the box. We're going to make scores at 1.5 inches. Turn, make a score at 1.5 inches. Do this 4 times all the way around the cardstock. Once all of my scoring is done, this is what we should have. And this part should look familiar. Now here I'm going to crease all of my folds before I do my cutting. Make the cuts in the same fashion as we had done with the first box, cutting away the score mark and leaving an angle cut on all 4 sides. Applying adhesive again in the same way as we had done for the bottom of the box. And then you should have a little something that looks like this. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is punch some little finger notches in the sides of the box. I put my little finger notches on all 4 sides. You can skip this step. I just think it gives a finished look. It kind of gives you a space to grab the bottom of the box and pull it apart. Okay, all right, so the box is complete. Now it's time to decorate some cards to go inside of the box. So I've got a 6x6 paper pack that I picked up from the dollar store, and it has 24 single-sided sheets, and you get 12 patterns and 2 of each design. I'm not sure how many pieces I'm going to need today, so I'm just going to separate the paper pack and take 1 of each design and see how much I'm going to need. I end up cutting a little bit more than I need, but it's better to have more than not enough for this project anyways. All right, so I'm just going to take 12 of those sheets, and I've got 12 card bases. My card base measures 10 inches by 7 inches, scored at 5 inches to create a 5x7 card. Whenever I'm not sure what to do creatively, I like to cut up card bases and card panels and things, and I'll share more on that in another video coming up soon. So I'm going to take these pattern papers and I'm going to cut them down. I had done this in a video previously for some Christmas cards, and basically what I'm doing is cutting a pattern paper at 2 inches and then turning the larger piece that's left over and cutting that at 4 inches. So I'm going to get 1 square that measures 4x4, 1 that measures 2x4, and 1 rectangle that measures 2x6. All right, so I'm going to do this to all of my pattern papers. Basically what this does is it cuts up the designs so that I can mix and match them. And then I stretch my pattern paper, and I'm not, really worried about them matching or not. Because they come from the same paper pack, typically what happens is all of those papers kind of coordinate together. Some look better than others, so what I do is I take the cut up strips and I match them up beside each other and until I figure out which one I like best. So I've gone ahead and I've done all that and just kind of picked through the paper to see which patterns I liked best together. And now I'm going to apply some adhesive to these strips. For some reason, I felt like it needed a little bit of white space in between the patterns. I'm not sure why, but my eyes just felt like it was a little bit more appealing. So I did that for all of my cards. For the long strips, here's a look at the 6 cards that I made. I like the way that these long strips turned out. They looked really pretty. And then for the smaller strips, I had decided to stick with the landscape style card design. With these smaller strips, I feel like you can create them either way. You can make them portrait or landscape, but I just decided to keep going with this style. Alright, so here's a look at all 6 of the cards that I made with this style of cut up patterns. I find those paper packs really take the guesswork of how to lay out your cards. All you have to do is figure out the measurements and cut the paper up and glue it down. The next thing you'll need is a sentiment, and that's about it. Here's what I've got left out of that paper pack, and I decided to take those little extras and embellish my box. So I've gone ahead and I've adhered some patterns to the front of the box. I did some corner protectors around the side of the box, and I decorated the back of the box. I just kind of filled all in these patterns everywhere. I thought it looked kind of neat. So I had fun doing that, decorating. So here's a look at our finished card box with our cards inside. And the last little idea that I had for this box set is to stick in a notepad. I thought it would be kind of neat to give this as a gift, and the recipient could write birthdays that they might need, or dates that they might need cards or addresses to mail, and they could keep all these together in one little box. It's kind of a neat little thing. Here's a close-up look at our finished project. I think this is a wonderful gift idea, great for any sort of occasion. You just need some sentiments. Now, if you'd like, you could create some sentiments and stick them inside the box with double-sided adhesive on them so that the recipient could just pick through the sentiments that they want and stick them to the front of the card. It's a great idea for gift giving, and so that the recipient can choose what kind of card they want to give away. Okay, that's it for today's video. I hope that you've enjoyed today's project. And if you're interested in anything that I've shown in today's video, you can find my template reference book in the description box down below. I've got tons of ideas on how to make boxes, envelopes, cards, tags, and so much more. So thanks again for joining me. Coming up on screen are a couple videos that I think you may enjoy, including the entire playlist of the Chop It Up series. I hope those videos may inspire you to get to chopping up some of your paper. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!